So if you're waiting for your Colorado weather update, we are glorious, cool and rainy spring has continued. We're having fantastic thunder showers day after day after day. And so the air feels like the inside of a florist's cooler where they keep the bouquets of roses and stuff. I'm here for it. I'm really enjoying it. Like, I think this is the greenest our front lawn has been in many years. Many years, because we don't water, because this is a desert and pouring water.
Semi-arid.
With terrible sandy soil, alkaline sandy soil, and the water just goes away. It'll turn to dust.
It's true.
So anyway, it's beautiful here right now. And speaking of beautiful, we have a lot of beautiful questions. It being Friday mail call, and they're gonna be read by my beautiful wife. Aww. And we're gonna get it done.
True, but we need to do wrist check first.
Oh, well, I wanted to actually, before you did wrist check, could you read this?
Rolex versus Seiko head-to-head. Navy 831 ARI. Clearly you're biased toward the Rolex.
Okay, well, let's do wrist check and I'll talk about that. Okay, let's do it. The red 1680.
I think I was wearing this last time, and what happens is when it actually gets wound and the date's set right, I kind of keep wearing it. What are you doing?
I'm trying to turn your bezel, but it's all stuck together.
Does it turn the other way?
No. It's supposed to turn that way. It's stuck. You must have gotten something on it.
Oops. Anyway, when it gets, the date gets set, I tend to wear it until I feel inspired to wear something else because it's so annoying to wind there.
Anyway, I built that out of parts and pieces. And I am wearing, talking about that video accusing me of preferring the Rolex over the Seiko, I am wearing that Seiko. It's my SBDX 001. The OG, the original, the one with the, with the slightly tan lume. I love this watch. I've been wearing it for about a month now. It's really coming in on that. I just like, even just yesterday, I mean, I've been wearing this watch for a month. You think I'd be tired of it. And I was looking at it yesterday and I was just like, I love this watch. I love this watch. I love its proportions. The gorgeous handset, the amazing, gorgeous handset. The brilliance of Seiko not putting a red stoplight hand in there. It would have cheapened the look of this watch so much. The hand loom dial. This ceramic insert bezel and the proportions, the slightly smaller dial, which is what Seiko did starting with their tunas, slightly beefier rotating ring coin edge bezel. I love this watch. I mean, I got it in basically unworn condition, and I've worn it, and it's starting to show that I've worn it, but I don't mind at all. It's it's gained 20 seconds. I've reset it once in the past month, so it's running a little fast, but so far, no problems whatsoever. I'm just telling you.
From last mail call, Neel Gupta. Hi both, no Seiko questions from me for next mail call, but a question about Star Wars. Please tell me you guys watched Andor season 2. It was an absolutely amazing show considering that Disney have not done well with the property since buying it in 2012. All the best, Neel. We're rewatching season 2 now.
Yeah, we watched. Long story short, we loved it. We watched season 2 and loved season 2. And then per Sabrina's suggestions, we jumped back and watched starting from season 1 again. Rewatched it. And now we're back into season 2. You know, it's amazing. The whole show, it was good on the first run. Like for me, I really enjoyed it. The aesthetic, the more science fiction-y aspect of Star Wars was sort of brought to the fore. Really, really compelling characterizations, beautiful direction, awesome set work. The fact that they use so much practical set work is just great. I mean, like the Gorman set apparently took 2 years to build, and that's why one of the reasons they used it so much. But the writing, it's just everything about it is such quality, and it's. I mean, obviously I'm biased, but I think that the series stands alone on its own. I think a non-Star Wars person, if they were able to drop into the beginning of the story, would absolutely enjoy it, because it's perfectly balanced in that it's a standalone piece if it needs to be. It's its own story and arc. It also connects to things outside of it, but doesn't even feel like any kind of a retcon. It feels like it's filling a perfect Andor-shaped hole that was always there in Star Wars. I'm still astonished at the love and care and everything that went into Andor, the series, never mind Andor the movie, which brought us this whole... Rogue One. Yeah, you're right. Thank you, Rogue One. Sorry,
You're enthusiastic.
I'm enthusiastic. I often say I don't consider myself like a Star Wars fan, even though apparently I think about Star Wars a lot. I think I just prefer this more, less space wizards and laser swords and more this stuff. I don't know. It feels like really good, beautifully constructed, grown-up Star Wars. I think it, and it's excellent storytelling. Mm-hmm. Sorry, I just sort of had
It's okay.
a moment there.
If people don't know that you are enthusiastic about Star Wars yet, then they're not paying attention.
I still don't really consider myself to be able to have earned a true mantle of being a Star Wars fan. I don't know.
It's because you don't really care about the original trilogy.
Well,
you like it from they're good movies. You like it from a nostalgia point of view, but you're never like, yes, OT.
I mean, the last time we watched Empire Strikes Back, I was like, I was able to see a lot more in the movie that I hadn't seen for a long time. And since I hadn't watched it for so long, I actually kind of didn't remember it correctly. So I really did enjoy that. Return of the Jedi is just, it has some moments, obviously, but it's just silly. But in those movies, all those movies, they have moments and elements and scenes that are fantastic and beautiful that I love. And they also have so much schlock and poor dialogue and poor direction that you kind of have to pick and choose the things you like. With Andor, I'm really not getting that. I'm a hypercritical, picky person when it comes to things that are in something that I like. I start getting really crazy about it. Andor, on the second watch, is just even better in every way. I can't. It's kind of a slow burn, but it's really, really interesting, and it leads literally right into Rogue One, which leads pretty much immediately into A New Hope. Mm-hmm. We're living in a golden age of Star Wars. Well,
it's true. I think it's because all the formerly children fanboys are writing the stuff now.
Yeah. I mean, I know it's a strange thing to say we're living in a golden age of Star Wars, but Andor is arguably the greatest thing for me personally since the Clone Wars. You know, the animated thing, and that, talk about your mixed bag of stuff. You get such amazing stuff in the Clone Wars and such really head-clutchingly terrible stuff and kiddie stuff that's really difficult to sort of get through in terms of the story. I have to kind of talk myself through it, but I don't have any moments like that in Andor.
Okay, should we talk about watches now?
Sure, why not? Sorry for that thing. I'm sure that was maybe somebody's. This is like when you used to get your teacher talking, so you wouldn't have to deal with the class.
I had two science teachers that I'm very good at figuring out what people like and how to get them talking about it. And I played classical piano when I was much younger, and the earth science room was right across from the band room. So over lunch, I would go play the piano, and my earth science teacher was like, oh my God, and thought I was great and would talk about all that stuff. And then my biology teacher was super boomer, and I would talk about, quote the Beatles and random stuff, and I passed that class. And then I tried with the chemistry teacher to talk about Star Trek, but he was having none of it, and I tried really hard in chemistry, but I didn't do very well.
Oh well, what can you do? Okay, so let's do it for real.
Okay. Chuck Schilling videos. Through no fault of its own, the Submariner became something it was never intended to be, a luxury status symbol. Until fairly recently, it was a simple tool watch intended for and marketed to actual scuba divers, both recreational and commercial. And then the sports watch craze set in, and it became just another overpriced fashion piece. The Rolex divers you want are the 5-digit serial numbered Submariner and Sea Dweller. My 16600 Sea Dweller was last serviced in 2020 and runs at 0 to +1 seconds per day in all 6 positions.
Yeah, well, I mean, if I'm going to talk about Rolex versus Seiko, I mean, why don't I put in a segment with the Rolex? And since we're talking about the Rolex versus Seiko, and people want to know what I'm talking about, here's the Rolex. I did wear this, I wore this Rolex in January, right at the start of the new year. I put this on. It's my only complaint ever about the Marine Master is that they went and replicated the 4-line text. I wish they had just said Marine Master 300 and just left it at that. If it was just Marine Master 300, it would look really nice. Or even Marine Master Professional 300, yeah. I don't know. This watch is just, it's such a special design. It really is. But I love this. This one is elegant and old school and pleasing to look at, and probably the lowest numbers of any regular sub issue. I mean, this doesn't have a 5 serial number, but it is the first 6 serial number, and it came before any other 6 serial, and before even the 16610s and all that other kind of stuff. I think it's a beautiful reference. 168000. I love the symmetry of the model number. 168 is, you know, is 16800. I have some number relations to all those numbers that I really like. It's just a classy watch. They both have their places. And we're back.
84 Lepit Mort. Love the sign in the background, you two. I remember my grandpa, Opa, having one in his garage where he kept his baby blue Mercedes 200 parked as well. Greetings from Germany, and keep up the terrific work.
Yeah, this was my dad's, and he brought that actually back from Germany in the 70s. He did another sabbatical out of the country back in Germany in the early mid 70s. He was gone for a long time. It was like 6 months. I don't think it was a year, but it was a long time. But anyway, even before that, Dad got one of his degrees at University of Tübingen in Germany, and at that time, he had a wife and a couple kids, actually 3 kids at that point. And so he had to have a job. So he worked for Mercedes-Benz building the 200s. He called them the little ones with the little baby fins on them. And he built the doors on those. He was always very proud of that. He said it was interesting on the line, you know, 1960, 1961, 62. All the guys working on the line were World War II vets. And he said that they gave him kind of a hard time.
Why?
Because he was an American. But he said it was all fine and everything. He said it was hard work. He had to stick to it. But I had a wife and 3 children.
Not him.
No, that was my dad.
Super Cruise. Hi, Spencer and Sabrina. Question for next mail call. Spencer, I know you have documented service on the Venerable?
Thank you. I think.
Seiko 6159 7000, 7001 in the past. I am currently servicing a 7001 with Cal 6159A from 1969, and I am incredibly impressed with Seiko and their design architecture on this movement based on the 6106 base caliber. Just amazing. jeweled upper and lower mainspring arbor ports, cap jewels top and bottom for the escape wheel and pallet fork. On this particular watch I'm servicing, someone previously replaced the mainspring and barrel marked do not open with what I can only figure is a standard 61XX series barrel, arbor, and mainspring, as the watch was running with low amplitude around 176 prior to service. Could you comment on the 6159A and B movements and barrel and mainspring setup on these? My Seiko parts guide lists Seiko part 201615 for 6159A barrel complete with arbor and mainspring. Is the same setup used for the B version of this movement? These barrels are pretty unobtainable. Will a B version of the barrel complete work in the A and vice versa? It appears to me that the step on the lower lid of the barrel for a 6159 might be a bit higher than the standard 61XX series barrel. If I am unable to locate a barrel complete with mainspring for this movement, I may go with the 61 series barrel and arbor that was in the watch and upgrade the mainspring to a beefier GR mainspring I have been using in some 6105 projects for higher amplitude. Thoughts? Assumed the 6159 mainsprings were a bit more stout due to the high beat nature of this movement. Appreciate any advice or comments you might have on the 6159 series movements. Whew.
Wow.
Do you want to look at where we start, or you know what you're saying?
No, I more or less know if I have a question what's going on. 6159, for those who don't know, is the high beat version of the 6000 series three-hand watches. It's a direct lineage. It's a refinement of those. It has the wheels are different. It's more highly jeweled. It's got a smaller balance that runs at a much higher vibration. But they are 6159A and B are more or less the same. The biggest difference I can think of off the top of my head is that the regulator and the balance cock and stuff like that is a totally different type on the B versus the A. Let me actually see that. Yeah, the mainspring barrels, as far as I can tell, are exactly the same dimension. If you can get, I did a video a while back. Well, I don't remember the number of the video, the number of the mainspring. I did a video the way back called Swiss Mainspring in a Seiko Madness or something like that. That mainspring, which came from Cousins, it's a Cousins made specific thing, replicates the shorter, stiffer mainspring that was in a 6159 versus the longer, thinner, more flexy ones in the regular 6100 series. That is what I would try. The only differences in the barrels really is that when the barrel on the 6159s were closed, the edges were rolled over to lock that cap in place because it's got a heavier duty mainspring and it could work and you don't want it to pop open. So that's that difference. But I mean, from a sheer, just straight up dropping in part, one to the other, they just drop in. Yeah, there's these barrels pretty much unobtainable. Yeah, it's the biggest thing functionally is just to try to roll back that top edge when you close a 6159 barrel or a barrel to be used in a 6159. I use a metal burnishing tool. It has a little curved thing here, and I just, I suppose if I was really doing it correctly, I'd pull out my jeweler's lathe and find a way to set it up and then polish it in that way. That's probably the best way to do it. But I've found that just very carefully going over that edge by hand with a burnisher helps at least me feel better about how it's doing. Yeah, the 6159 mainsprings were thicker because they had to drive that little wheel so quickly to make it a high beat. Cool.
How to spot a Repro 6138 8020 Panda dial. Matthew Stapleford 7774. Awesome, thanks for this. This helped me confirm my Panda is an original dial.
Good.
Is anyone faking patina on the aftermarket dials, or the new dials nitrocellulose coated?
I don't know if they're nitrocellulose coated. I'd be surprised. I think that nitrocellulose finishes, I think they're kind of old school. That's like a throwback thing. I know that like Fender uses nitro finishes on their instruments today because they used it back in the day, and they're replicating the look and feel of their old instruments using that old material. I doubt very much that whoever's making these dials would go so far as to use the correct material. And then you have to think about, well, what's the metal undercoating? Is it the same as Seiko's? If it is the same, maybe it would patina. If it's something else, maybe it'll just stay shiny and bright forever. Patina means it's an original dial. I've never run into anything except that.
The Overdue Review Part 2, Re-dune 6105, 8000, Michael Travis 12C27. I wonder if you offer the service of reworking this model with an original dial in hands. Is there any way to upgrade the bezel and give it a proper feel? I have this watch as well as a King Turtle from Seiko. While I love them both, this one just wears better and I find myself wearing it more often. The juice probably isn't worth the squeeze since I like it as it is, but it would be nice to come as close as possible to an original.
I experimented with this a few years ago when Re-dune first put out their recreation of the slim case watch. You can use an original dial, but either it's got to have no dial feet or it has to have an original 6000 series movement. Now, what's kind of neat is because the Re-dune uses a Seiko 7000 series movement, which is what the 4R and 6Rs are. They're just upgraded 7000 movements. The exterior architecture with the movement ring and all that stuff is the same as those earlier 7000s. And those earlier 7000s had more or less the same movement size and profile and seating height and everything as the 6000s. So it is possible to put a 6000 series movement into a Re-dune case. It's been a few years. It's probably not that easy, but it wasn't far off. I built a complete 6105 into the Re-dune case because what I wanted was to have, I wanted to be able to have a genuine original 6105 interior in an exterior that I didn't have to worry about babying, that would look good and everything. And I accomplished that, but it bugged me. I didn't feel that it was a correct solution and I wasn't wearing it. And so I put it back and then I sold that watch. But the problem is that original dials and hands don't just hang around. I mean, they're inside watches. They're not waiting really to be used. And so the ones that you might find around are typically going to be in awful condition. And it's just tough to do. It's really tough to do. That's why I wish Re-dune would improve the dial to match how well they've done the hands, and then though it could stand on its own 2 feet.
4SL Seiko 70156010 time sonar evaluation. Dave Hanna 9318. Spencer is always so surprising to me how sturdy the Seiko movements are. I feel like you rarely get a non-runner. I guess a testament to their build quality.
Pardon me. You're exactly right. I remember once, long time ago, we were still living at the old house. I got a watch. I bought it from the Philippines from the watch guy, and it had arrived, and I pulled it out of the box, and it was running. It was running.
I remember you were like, look, and I was like, okay.
I'm like, and it was running. And what is amazing about that is that watch was just a wreck. It was a UFO. It was a 6106 UFO 70-meter diver, but it was really badly abused and sort of put together to fool, and it looked much better than it really was. And even that watch ran. For a Seiko watch to not run, something has to be massively wrong. There has to be a broken escape wheel, or the balance has a broken pivot, or it's hideously magnetized, or somebody over lubricated it and everything's all stuck together, or some water got in and it got rust and there's rust chunks inside the movement. Something has to be physically stopping the movement. A Seiko movement will almost always run. So yeah, that's people talk about Timex taking a lick and keep on ticking. Seiko did it better and far more reliably than Timex ever did.
Let's check out Seiko's OG cocktail time, the 8306-1000. Woody's Geek Channel 2204. I am new to this, but what does the 1000 refer to after the 8306?
The way that Seiko's casing numbers worked is it went movement type number dash case style. So an 8306, that watch has an 8306 movement inside, and it's case style 1000, which is that particular thing. It's like with the Seiko Pogues, as people call them. There's 6139 6000 X, and the X is because you can have multiple different versions for different worlds, but the whole overall case thing, the 6000 refers to that case, which is regardless of any of the other what?
Different countries, not different worlds, I think.
Oh yeah, no, yes, different countries. I'm sorry, you have a world version. Like, say, take the 6309 7040. That's the world version of the 6309 cushion case diver. The North American one is 7049, is the way that works. So, but that's the only number that will really change. Those main numbers indicate the case style, and that carries through.
For BF Seiko 56267200 King Seiko, Tactical Truth 8118. Based on your previous video, is that crystal beveled on the outside or inside?
That one's beveled on the outside. Seiko beveled crystals, glass crystals, Hardlex crystals on the outside, and they were polishing the faces. They had facets on the inside when the crystal was acrylic because it's molded, because you don't want to have facets on the outside of an acrylic crystal. It'll scratch like crazy. It'll look awful. So you have the smooth on the outside.
For AT, Seiko 7828 chronograph restoration, Genoa Fire 1. So glad I found your video. I have a Seiko Sport 100 chronograph that I purchased new in 1984. It is still in great shape and runs perfectly. I was thinking about self-servicing it as far as cleaning and oiling. I really enjoy mechanical things and using my hands. I also tie my own flies for fishing. However, after watching your video, I realized there's no way I'm going to be able to self-service my Seiko. Even with our modern technology of the iPhone and being able to photograph each and every piece, and the step at 70 years old, my eyesight and hands aren't what they used to be, and neither is my memory. Thanks so much for sharing a great video of all the intricacies involved in disassembling the Seiko 7828 movement.
You know, I don't run into original owners of 7As very often at all. They're almost all orphans to watches. That when they come in, it's always nice to hear from original owners. I'm sure I've worked with I can think of at least one other example, but that's still really cool. Yeah, working on a 7A is a challenge. I mean, I never approach those lightly, never ever, because like the main bridge underneath it has 7 different pivots that you have to put in. And the pivots, like the pivots on the stepper motors, are so fine. And it takes nitpicking concentration to be able to get everything, all the wheels in the place they're supposed to be, and then get this long, tight bridge dropped in. And so all of the wheels are there, and you've got, these stepper motors are magnets, and so they keep sticking to the wrong things, or coming out, and it goes on and on. It's a challenge to do a 7A. They're no picnic. I probably should reconsider my pricing on them. The last time I did a 7A, I was like, how did I get myself into this mess? I don't know. They're fun.
Sold Seiko 7005 8030 MACV SOG Vietnam model. Ben Biber 4135. I've got one here in Cape Town, and it apparently came over from old Rhodesian war veteran. I also have a white ivory version of the same reference, and it's rather beautiful in its own right.
Yeah, I'm going to put in a little bit of a segment here. So let's do that, and then we'll come back and say goodbye. Yeah, it's interesting about the stainless steel Arabic dialed Mac VSOG model. I know of a few that came from South Africa, including a couple that were NOS. So it's this stainless steel case with high polish, silver hands, a silver white dial, and then loomed letters. This is the gold version. These you don't see very often. It's in nice condition. Nice condition. I think somebody polished the case back, which is unfortunate. But so as Seiko did, whenever they would make a military, as far as I've been able to tell, when Seiko would make a military version of a watch, that's what they would do, is they would take it and they would simply change the dial to dial, or in this case, just the dial. The only difference between this and a Mac V SOG literally is the dial. If I had a Mac V SOG dial, I could drop it right into this watch, and that's what it would become. They're cool though. They're a nice design, and the 7005 movements are just, they're so excellent. They're just excellent movements. Okay. Well, that's about it. I hope everybody enjoyed my absolutely unfocused, unplanned blathering on about Star Wars Andor, but you know, I recommend it if you're looking for a new series. All you need to really know is that the Empire in Star Wars was thinking about building a Death Star. You can start from that position, and that's pretty much all you really need to know. And the rest of the series will take care of itself. Any other things for you? Okay. Folks, we're done. Have a great weekend, and we will talk to you on the flip side.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, I do have to say, look on the website for the watches I'm selling. I'm putting new watches up. So buy an unserviced watch today. We can arrange for servicing if you want, and that's it. Okay. Now, bye-bye.
Bye.